Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're part of this incredible wave of Turkish medical device manufacturers looking to expand internationally, to really go global, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're laying out the ultimate roadmap to conquer one of Europe's most dynamic and lucrative healthcare landscapes, the Spanish medical market. We're going to distill all those complex regulations, the cultural nuances, and the hard market data so you can confidently plan your expansion.
Let's kick things off with a pretty mind-blowing number, 890%. So what exactly does that represent? Well, it is the massive surge in Turkish biotech R&D spending we saw between 2013 and 2022. It's not just a fun piece of trivia, it's absolute, undeniable proof of our capacity for world-class innovation. Turkish companies aren't just playing domestic supplier anymore. We're emerging as global leaders in high-tech devices and precision engineering. You've got the innovation. Now, let's talk about exporting it. And we really need to connect that undeniable Turkish momentum to a very real, very massive reward, $11.5 billion. That is the projected value of the Spanish medical device market by 2028. It's growing at a really steady 6 to 7% every single year. We're talking about a market that is fueled by pressing, real-world demographic needs. So the stakes for our journey today are incredibly high, and the potential payoff for your business? It's absolutely enormous.
Okay, here is the game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the Spanish market and opportunities, then look at registration and regulatory processes, move into building the right partnerships, decode those tricky Spanish business culture dynamics, and wrap up with some highly specific tips for Turkish firms.
Section 1, the Spanish market and opportunities. Let's look at exactly what the Spanish healthcare system needs right now.
Now, what's really fascinating about this market is the contrast. Spain has a highly developed national health system, right? But despite that, they have a staggering 65 to 70% import dependency for medical devices. They literally have to look outward. And three specific segments are experiencing the most explosive growth: in vitro diagnostics, driven by personalized medicine; cardiovascular devices like stents and pacemakers; and orthopedic devices fueled by a rapidly aging demographic. If you manufacture in these spaces, the Spanish market is actively searching for exactly what you make.
On top of that, the Spanish National Health System, or the SNS as it's known, is pouring money into hospital modernization. The big push right now is digital health, remote monitoring, and smart devices. Telemedicine and smart hospital infrastructure, those are massive priorities. If your technology integrates with modernization efforts like these, you're looking at incredibly lucrative opportunities in their public procurement pipeline.
Moving on to Section 2, registration and regulatory processes. Let's talk about navigating AEMPS and the EU MDR.
This is where we meet the threshold guardians of our journey. Having a phenomenal product is one thing, but getting it legally cleared for sale in Spain, that requires navigating some pretty strict European Union and national frameworks. Specifically, you need to meet AEMPS. That's the Spanish Agency of Medicines and Medical Devices. Listen closely here, because this is crucial. Even if you already have your EU MDR CE mark, satisfying AEMPS is an absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for legal commercialization. You have to be in their database, period.
So mastering this structured pathway is basically your golden ticket. It kicks off with an initial submission through the AEMP's online portal. Then comes a rigorous documentation review where they'll scrutinize your CE marking validity, clinical data, and yes, your Spanish labeling compliance. After that is the fee assessment, and finally, approval and database entry. Just the review period alone can take 30 to 90 days. And honestly, that's only if your documentation is completely flawless from day one. Perfect preparation is your best friend here. And keep in mind, the regulatory burden always matches the potential patient risk. For Class 1, low-risk devices, you're looking at a simpler pathway. Basically self-certification and a basic AEMPS notification. But for Class 3, high-risk devices, it's a whole different ballgame. You've got to provide extensive clinical trials, comprehensive risk-benefit analyses, and gear up for an approval process that extends well beyond 180 days. You will also need a rock-solid quality management system like ISO 13485. So you've got to plan your timelines and budgets according to your specific risk class. All right, Section 3, building the right partnerships. Let's talk about local distributors and reps. To really succeed in this market, you cannot go it alone from abroad. You need powerful allies on the ground, specifically local distributors and an in-country representative to act as your regulatory contact. But when you're vetting these partners, remember, A Spanish distributor is not just a glorified seller. You need to verify their regulatory experience, their technical support capabilities for post-market surveillance, and crucially, their access to the SNS network. Spain's healthcare system is divided into autonomous communities, and each one has its own public procurement process. Your distributor is literally your guide through these complex regional tenders.
Section 4. Spanish Business Culture Dynamics. Time to dig into the unwritten rules of Spain. I literally cannot stress this enough. Even if you have a technically perfect product and completely flawless regulatory paperwork, you will fail if you ignore local business etiquette. There's a powerful principle to remember here. Business relationships in this country exist between people, not necessarily between companies. It hits the nail right on the head. In Spain, trust and long-term personal commitment often matter way more than just having the lowest price. And a quick word of warning, if you change a key contact or an account manager on your end, you might find yourself having to start the relationship-building process over from absolute scratch. Because of that deep-seated need for trust, face-to-face meetings are vastly superior to email. You need to be on the ground. You need to be shaking hands, making eye contact, and sharing meals. Emails and phone calls, they're great for logistics, but real influence in the Spanish market, that is built in the room. Now, when you actually get in that room, brace yourself for a bit of a culture clash. Spanish meetings are highly polychronic. What does that mean? Well, it means they can feel a little chaotic. They tend to jump back and forth between topics with multiple parallel conversations happening all at once. Don't get frustrated, just roll with it. But, and this is a big but, contrast that meeting style with the actual decision-making process. Decision-making is strictly autocratic and hierarchical. The senior executives at the very top make the final calls, even if they take their sweet time doing it. And here's a surprising fact for you. You might think that building those personal relationships means treating clients to lavish, super expensive dinners, right? Well, not in the medical sector. The strict Fenin Code of Ethics, which governs Spain's medical tech industry, places a hard limit of exactly 80 euros per person on business meals. This is strictly monitored to prevent corruption and ensure that all business is won fairly on merit. So while personal relationships matter deeply, the professional boundaries are incredibly firm. Giving gifts to healthcare professionals, completely forbidden under that same Fenin Code. And when you're attending these meetings, professionalism is paramount. A formal suit and tie dress code is still highly expected in these executive rooms. You want to dress to show respect for the hierarchy and for the seriousness of the business you're doing.
Let's bring it home with Section 5, Tips for Turkish Companies. Time for some actionable steps to launch your successful export journey.
Let me inspire you for a second with a real made-in-Turkey success story. Take a look at Doratech Medical. They specialize in complex orthopedic and spinal implants, products that require extreme meticulous precision. In just a few short years, they expanded to an astonishing 80 countries worldwide and were eventually crowned Europe's best orthopedic product manufacturer. They proved, without a doubt, that Turkish precision engineering and quality absolutely win in Europe. And you can definitely follow in their footsteps.
But it all comes down to execution. So here's your rapid-fire success checklist. First, translate all your patient-facing and technical documentation into flawless Spanish. Seriously, don't use online translators for this. Second, appoint an in-country representative to handle those AEMPS obligations we talked about. Third, strictly maintain your ISO 1345 quality system. And finally, and this is a big one, prepare your cash flow for 90-plus day payment terms. The Spanish public sector and large retailers are notoriously known for their long payment cycles, so factor that in. We've covered the massive market potential, the strict regulatory gateways, the undeniable importance of local partnerships, and the intricacies of Spanish business culture. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative question. Is your product ready to take its place in Europe's most dynamic market? You've got the innovation, you've got the drive, and now you have the insights to make it happen. It's time to start your Spanish expansion journey today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck out there.